Here we go. I hope everyone's doing all right. While I am getting Coach on this call right now, coaches, could you give me a thumbs up? Let me know that it sounds all right and everything is okay. Because you know how I am with technology sometimes. I am hit or miss. Just getting everything set up. Coach should be on the call relatively soon. I hope everyone's having a great Sunday. This is Jiggly. There's my beautiful face. If you're here and you're paying attention, hey, real quick before Coach gets on, let me know in the comments where are you watching from while I get everything ready. All right. And also, if you want to bring coaches in and everything like that, go ahead, share this, bring some coaches in, tag some coaches, everything like that. We got Coach Marcelo and Coach Brown, some more jumping in. How are y'all doing? Coach Stephenson, how you doing? Coach Maurice, please, hey, let me know where y'all are watching from. Put it in the comments. While y'all are doing that, I'm going to go ahead and drop Coach Salas's Twitter handle and his YouTube in the chat right there. Coach should be coming on pretty soon. Let me send him. Just sent it. All right. I am going to grab this and let everyone know on Twitter that I am interviewing Coach Salas. So if, again, we're going to be talking about a couple of things. We're going to be talking about the air raid, what he did this year, what worked, what didn't work. We're also going to talk about his what he does outside or after the season. And then we're going to dive into culture. And that should be him right there. He's getting everything set up. While I send out a tweet, I am doing a live interview with. Oh, that's not it. Coach Salas. Come join and learn. There we go. Coach, can you hear us? Or can you hear me? There he is.
All right,
you there, Coach?
Yes, sir.
All right. Again, thank you so much for joining. We already got some coaches in right now. We got Coach Marcelo is watching, Coach John, Coach Johnsey. I let him know what we were doing. Coach Russ from Tennessee. We are Coach Brisbane. What's going on? Gorgeous. Coach Kuntz, how are you doing? We are talking with Coach Joe Salas. Thanks again for coming on. We interviewed before the season started last year. I reached out to you because I have been binge watching your YouTube videos. I don't know, the creepy YouTube knows that I like watching your videos, so they fed me every single one of your videos, and I've been binge watching it. And I was like, you know what?
I like watching yours too, man. So
Awesome. For those coaches that don't know anything about you, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm the head football coach at Hopton High School in North Carolina, which is a little single A school, probably right at 500 kids. Hopton in the past has been back in the day, 90s, early 90s, even close to the 2000s, was a powerhouse. And then because of the area that we're in, very agricultural, has had just a dramatic demographics change, and we've been through some hard, lean times now for probably 10 years. So I think 10 years ago we made it to the regionals, and then it's been just slim picking since then. So me and my staff came in 2 years ago, and we were blessed with a special quarterback and some special skill kids, and been able to get it rolling. So we've been blessed and really blessed with, and I always talk about this, that our best players were also our hardest workers, and they were also our best leaders. And whenever you got that situation, you got a chance. And as opposed to the flip side, if you ever come into a place and your best players think they're special and that they don't have to do all the extra, then it's going to be tough sledding. So we were blessed that not only do we have some good skill kids, but they were just awesome kids, just hard working, blue collar, hard nosed type kids. And we had a little success with them.
Now you're just being modest. I know you've had a lot of success with them, but you were correct. It is nice when your players are also your leaders. And that's something we're going to get into later on in this conversation. But the first thing I have to add, you come from the Coach Mummy tree. You volunteered with him down at Valdosta, or you coached with him. Tell us a little bit about that.
I was with him 3 years, came in as just a straight volunteer, and kind of worked my way up to I was actually on the defensive side, defensive backs coach. And, obviously, Hal's left his fingerprints on me. I was the second high school coach in Georgia to run the air raid, and that was back before it was cool. Now they thought I was crazy coming in and thumbing around, but we stuck with it. So I tell people I'm not the smartest one, and my numbers aren't the prettiest, but I've been doing it the longest, so I've seen everything you can see.
Yes. And what I like about that is actually this year you were more run than pass, weren't you?
We were. We don't tell how, but we were. We had our quarterback threw for 2,000, then he rushed for 1,500, and then our tailback rushed for 1,500. So we were about 60-40 run pass, but it was just because we had two things. We had just the talent in the backfield was tremendous. And we were, my first year when I came into Hopton, like most people do in a single A, we went both ways, and man, I hated it. I couldn't take it anymore. So in the off season, I convinced my defensive coordinator. He thought I was crazy, but we went 2 platoon. So we ended up, when you're 2 platooning with any team, but especially a smaller school, we ended up playing a lot of young kids on defense. So we just had the situation where when we were able to run the ball effectively, we ran it just because we had to protect the defense, and we were pretty dang good at it.
Okay, so I like that you said you 2 platooned in 1A. How long did you have that discussion with your defensive coordinator? Was it like a multiple day thing, or did you just come out and be like, "Hey, I'm sorry, I'm the head coach. This is what we're doing. Get used to it," and then that was it?
Well, there's a lot of denial in it. We had to talk. And my defensive coordinator, he's the real deal now. Steve Mallard was, he's won a state championship as a head coach.
Oh, wow.
This was his last year in North Carolina. So he wanted to go out. He knew we had a chance to be pretty good. He wanted to go out with a bang. So I came to him in the summer and kind of laid it out to him. And of course, and it was one of those. He was hearing me, but he didn't hear me. So he was denial all the way up through the season, and then and obviously and I think in all levels you can do this, but he called it franchise, where when it was time to go, he called out franchise and all the studs ran out there. So we had the ability to put in the big boys on defense. Matter of fact, our quarterback, me and you talked about this last time. My quarterback is actually probably going to be recruited as a safety. He is, an all-state caliber safety. And
Wow.
so, he'd go running out there, and I just close my eyes and cross my fingers. But he was just, so we put our best players out there when he called franchise. But of course, he wanted to call franchise 80% of the time.
Every time.
I had to limit him to, no, man, it's only when the game's on the line are we going to do this. So that's how it worked out. But it worked out good. We had 22 starters the whole year, and it just, and again, I've said this before. There's no convincing somebody. You're either a 2 platoon guy or a 1 platoon guy. There's no changing people's minds. But I just think the advantages to 2 platoon are just, there's too many advantages to pass it up. I mean, you get to outcoach people between series. Your practices, you get the situational practice during practice, which is, it all comes down to, are you mentally prepared to win, to play big in big situations? And I don't know how to prepare a kid better for a big situation than to have situational practice, situational periods in practice. So those were my reasons, but there was a lot of denial heading into it. But he got on board with me. He didn't shoot me. He didn't snuff. Was it frag? He didn't frag me in the off season.
That's good. That's good. Now I like what you said. Yeah, situations do you bake those? And that is something I think you went over in one of your YouTube videos. Is you do a lot of situational football baked into the practice, correct?
We have a big situational period at the end of practice, and that's where we get a lot of it done. We kind of we have a menu of different situations that we choose from, and we just kind of rotate through those during the year. So we'll have third down situations might be one. It's all competitive. So, if we were going to do, like one day it's 2-point plays, well, we run 3 of them because we got to have a winner, we got to have a winner, offense, defense, but it's all competitive. And, we're just rolling through that menu. So it'd be third and long situations, 2-point situations, goal line situations from the 5. In North Carolina, I don't remember how you guys do it down there, but in North Carolina, our overtime is 4 from the 10. So that's a very scriptable situation. So we would practice time. We would practice 2-minute drives. We would, all those different situations that we could get into, we would get into them. And when it finally, it's one of those deals, you kind of practice that stuff all year. And then, that one game you come on it, you come up to one of those situations and our kids performed great. We had a bandit drive where we had to drive the whole field and hit a 2-point play, and our kids were money because they hit those situations in practice and they were ready for them.
All right, real quick for the coaches, welcome. I am talking with Coach Joe Salas. If you want to know more about him, you need to follow him on Twitter. You need to follow his Facebook. I am putting those things in the chat right now in the comment section.
Subscribe to Facebook. I mean, to the YouTube. I'm trying to beat George to 5,000 subscribers.
There you go. There you go. Go ahead and subscribe if you like sports videos. I know we all do. So go ahead and subscribe to them. They got a race. Getting back to it. I'm glad you said situations. It might have been one of the videos you did for the 92 Mesh group. You actually, I thought this was ballsy as hell. You were down, you let the team score quickly so you could get the ball back to turn around and then score to win the game.
You get with age, you either get smarter or you get crazy. So I'd actually lost a game years ago when I was at South Johnston where someone was driving the ball late in the game. We had a good defense, but how it happens. Mo got on their side and they're methodically driving the ball down and clock's running out. You don't know whether to hope the clock runs out or call time. We didn't know what to do. And they got down to our about 5-yard line, kicked the field goal on the last play of the game and won. And if there's nothing as sweet as winning on the last play of the game. And there's nothing more devastating than losing on the last play of the game. And that was it. They kicked the field goal, it's over. You walk across the field, you don't really know what happened. So that happened to me in the past. So we were against our second biggest rival. It was the last regular season game, and the same exact situation. We're up by 1. We got our young defense out there, and they got momentum, and they're driving it down the field on us. And they got to maybe our 12-yard line, and we took our last time out, told them to let them score because we knew we had a minute and 15 or so. And we were confident that with the air raid and with tempo and with a team that was skilled in those situations, we knew we could drive the field and win, and we did. So we were smart that time. If it would have worked out the other way, my defensive coordinator might have made me walk home.
Did the kids look at you like you were stupid when you told them to let them score?
No, I called the timeout and I just said, I pulled them together and I said, you're going to have to trust me. Before I told them what they had to do, I said, you're going to have to trust me. And then I told them and they did it. They went out there and they did it. I mean, I was, and you
look like a freaking genius when you did it.
Oh yeah. I'm walking on water now, but, and I had to, in that situation, number one, they had to trust me. They had to do it. And then I was the first one high-fiving and butt slapping coming off the field, telling them, we're going to do it. It's going to happen. You trusted me. Now we're going to do it. And of course, we had that quarterback we had was one of those once in a decade kind of kids. And we drove it and scored it and 2-pointed it and walked out of there like warriors.
That is awesome, man. You pulled the Madden strategy for the win. I love it.
Well, and that goes back to, and I'm a guy, I just think you got to have a system. Don't be a hodgepodge guy. Have a system. I don't care if it's wing tee. I don't care what it is. Have a run and shoot. I don't care. But that's one of the, I think that air raid is the best system. And
I agree.
Without the ability, even though we were a 60-40 run team last year, we were confident that we could take the ball and take it down the field and throw the football and run tempo and have kids understand, when you're outside the hashes, get out of bounds. And when you're inside the hashes, get a first down. Our kids understood that situation. And I don't think we could have done it with a different system. Air raid gave us the ability and the confidence to drive the field and win. And that's why, have a system, but I think the air raid system is the best system. And the ability to throw the football is so key.
It's like being a very good 3-point shooter. You're always in the game.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that would be a perfect cross.
Okay, so getting back to it.
With us, even though we were 60-40 run, just the idea that even though we were 60-40 run, in our mind, we were still an air raid passing team. we were running the ball down people's throat a lot of times. In our hearts and our minds, we were still an air raid passing team.
And see, that's what I was going to ask. How does it go? I know you ran the ball more. Does it change your play calling? Are you still trying to go as fast as possible and you just know, okay, instead of more throws, I'm going to do a little bit more runs because we're kind of a little bit more run dominant team?
Yeah, we were still tempo. We were still spread out. We were, it didn't change our mindset. It just, those were the plays that were working, and that was giving us the ability to control the game. But we were in our, we're still in our hearts. We're still air raid. We're still, and we had the game early in the year. We had the game where, man, they just loaded the box and we could not run the football. So we threw it for 400 yards that game, and our receiver, ended up, he's in the record book. I think it's the seventh highest yards in one game in the history of North Carolina. So we had that ability to switch gears and go, and so that never left us. We're an air raid team, man.
All right, so I'm glad you going into that game where they loaded the box. Was your game plan, we're going to run it, and then all of a sudden their game plan was you're not going to run it? And did you find that it was easy, since you have that mentality of, hey, we're still an air raid team, we're still going to throw it, that it wasn't that difficult to switch up your game plan on the fly?
Yeah, we came into the game thinking we were going to run it down their throat, and it's one of those games where early in the year where all of a sudden they had I think it was the third game of the year, so all of a sudden they had a bunch of athletes that they didn't have the first two games, where they had to get their days in and they had to do all that. So, that still happens in CLA. So all of a sudden they're a much more athletic team than we've seen on tape. And they had decided they were going to shut down the run, and they did. I mean, I'm not as smart as you. So, we had to bang our head on the wall. For several, for a while before we finally said, okay, we got to throw it. And we ended up having a 400-yard game. So it's still in our DNA, and we're an air raid team, man. I'm telling you, we're an air raid team.
All right. Well, something I wanted to talk with you about is, after the season that you kicked ass, you like to deep dive into your data. You're a data-driven kind of guy. Is that safe to assume?
I want to see. I just want to look at and see what the numbers tell me. I wish I could tell you I'm a real analytical guy, and that there's this huge deep dive that I'm going to take. It's really not. It's a matter of, I want to get my cut ups, and then I want to put the numbers on the board and just see what they tell me. And they end up telling me the same thing every year. But I just want to see it. I want to visually see, all right, what plays are we calling? What plays are we not calling? And it really, where it gets a little analytical, is just how can we protect our best plays? And to me, that's usually our counter. So because we're such a counter team, almost 400 times we ran counter and the tags, and so how, when you're that dominant on one play, one run play, how are you going to protect it? That's mainly what I'm wanting to see, and come up with ideas of how we're going to protect that counter. And it also tells me, I think the first year I came in the season with such high hopes that we were going to be a shallow team, and we didn't run the shallow hardly at all, and didn't do it again this year. But the third year we're going to run the shallow because I've got some young kids there that are growing up, so I think we're going to be able to do a better job with our inside receivers.
Okay, all right, and a lot of you North Carolina air raid guys, y'all like gap schemes. Why is that? We touched on that a little bit the first time you came on, but
yeah.
I'm just curious, why is it? What is it with the gap schemes in the air raid that I'm seeing more
Our
and more
progression was we went to, now Hal won't tell you this, but we went to inside zone before Hal did. When he first was started, he was an ISO lead guy. And we worked hard at it, and it took us a long time to finally get good at inside zone. But we were, like I just told you, the 400 times on counter, we were that with inside zone for a long time. But what took us away from inside zone was, if you're going to be an inside zone team, you have to have a great offensive line coach, number one, and number two, you cannot run it on JV. I don't care who you are.
You can't.
It's almost impossible to run inside zone on JV. So we wanted a gap scheme that we could push all the way down into the rec system. So then we went to dart. We got Rich Rodriguez's tape when he was at Clemson, and we were a dart team, and we were for probably 3 years. Dart was our play. And then unfortunately some defenses figured out when you take angles away, it kind of screws up your dart. So that's when we went to counter. And what I love about the counter is the same thing I loved about the inside zone, is you just don't care what front they're in. We don't care how the defense lines up. We're going to run counter at you. And because of the rules, your blocking rules, you just don't care. I don't care if they're in an odd. I don't care if they're in a 3-3. I don't care if they're even. I don't care if they're 2 2s and a 3 and a 1. I don't care. We're going to run counter because our rules take care of it. And it's just a hard-nosed physical run. And back in the day, I used to feel like, heck, when people played us, they spent all week drawing up awesome blitzes, and figuring out how to take away our quick screens. That's all they cared about, was we're going to blitz you and we're going to take away your quick screens. And now when you play us, you better be working on stopping the counter all week, or else we're going to run it down your throat. And we're not going to have to throw anything else. So that it changed our program, and just added a physicalness to our program that we didn't have before.
Okay. And you don't have to tell us if you don't want to, but what is one way you protect your counter? Because I know you run it a lot. So
the first way is we added a swing RPO that did a good job of protecting it. And then we try to protect it with some tags. And we also try to protect it with, when we run quick screen, we'll block a certain way, but then sometimes we'll just tell the quarterback, we're going to block counter, but you're going to throw a quick screen on one side or the other. So those are just a couple easy ways. And we're looking at, I did a video the other day on our inside RPO, where we were using your blocking scheme. I stole it from you. We were trying to scoop an A gap, a one technique, and get to the backer. And it just hasn't been as effective as it was when I first stole it from you back 3 years ago, probably. So we're going to a counter scheme on our inside counter also. And then I want to screw around. I was watching one of your videos yesterday, probably, and what we haven't used is the stick draw, and I want to figure out a way to run counter and run the stick RPO off of it also. So just anyway, anything that pulls two guys and is not the counter is a way to do it. So, we'll do the backside. Have you ever messed around with the backside run, or the wrong, I guess Franklin used to call it the wrong way run, where we're going to block counter this way and you'll run a speed sweep back this way. So that, to me, that's one way we protect the counter, is just tagging different kind of plays off the counter blocking.
Okay. That's smart. All right, we have a couple of questions real quick. One, Coach Reed, what formation did you call counter out the most?
2x2.
2x2?
I'm not a big formation guy, so we're 2x2 and 3x1 predominantly, and we'll sprinkle in a couple different ways we bunch up, but we're mainly a 2x2, 3x1 team.
Okay. And Coach Todd said, welcome, buddy. He also said he planned on inside zone being our main running concept this season, but we sucked at it. ISO ended up being our best run play. Might want to give GT counter a good look. And for those coaches that's coming in, I am Coach Ron McKie. I'm here with Coach Joe Salas, the man, the myth, the legend. He has two kick-ass things, a Twitter account and a YouTube. Go ahead. It's there in the comments. We just got done talking about why he uses counter over inside zone. He ran this thing over 400 times. He is an air raid coach through and through, but he ran the ball 60% of the time last year, which is kudos. It doesn't matter. I try to tell people it doesn't matter as long as you're scoring. And you had a stud at quarterback.
We always talk about, we talk about ball security, first downs, and tempo. That's all we talk about on offense.
That's it. And tempo is did you go tempo being two platooned as well this year?
Oh yeah. We were a huge tempo team. And that was one of the reasons the first year when we were going both ways, we tempoed in spurts and it was effective. But like this year we were able to tempo 90% of the time, and we loved it. And the kid, we had this conversation before. When your O-line's coming back on the sideline saying, can't handle it, go faster. You got your team, they're with you. And I think it's just a weapon that we don't use enough in high school.
I agree. And I want to say it's probably one of the reasons is twofold. One, you always think about the defense. I'm not going to get on that soapbox. I've been on that before. But two, in practice, tempo can look nasty. So you're thinking, oh, it looks nasty in practice, it's going to look nasty in the game, where I find that it's the opposite. If it looks nasty in practice, but then you go into a game, the other team hasn't experienced the tempo. So they're like you said, the O-line comes about, we need to go faster. They're tired. They're not even getting down to the stance or making the calls. And you're like, yes. So
I get that one a lot. They're not even getting in their stance. And in North Carolina, we went to the 40-second clock. So we used to say, man, in practice you go so much faster than the game, but now, heck, it's almost practice speed now. You can really go fast. I think first game of the year, we were playing a 3A school, and we got into a shootout right out the gate, and I want to say we ran like 93 plays in that game. Now, I came out of that game saying, oh, man, we're going to break 100. We never got close to that again. It just was that kind of game where there was no defense in the ballpark. But 93 plays that's a bunch of plays in one game for a high school. But it's because of that 40-second clock. And especially, I think, as the officials get more comfortable with it, I mean, it looks almost like it does in practice when you're going super fast.
That's nice. Coach Eli said, Joe, we put in the slant shoot because of you, or 7-9, I think you call it. Average 9.92 per attempt. Should have called it more. Hats off to you. That's your baby, isn't it?
Yeah, that's my baby, and that's good. See, you're smart when you run that slant shoot. I came up with it. It was just one of those. It was simple enough that I could understand it, so we keep running it. But it was a big play. It was last year 4 verts was our number one call. But normally it's 7 and 9, and this year it was 7 and 9 again. It regained the crown as our number one pass.
All right. I want to transition a little bit. You're big into leadership. Now, my question first off is, have you always big, like when you've coached, being into leadership, or is this something that you've grown since you've been at the school you're at now? And culture, I meant.
Full disclosure, I probably screwed up leadership this year, and I screwed it up the same way I've screwed it up in the past. I think we first got into leadership school back in the day, 15 years ago, because I got tired of coming out of the season saying, man, we just didn't have leadership. So, we're coaches. What are we going to do about it? You got to have an off-season leadership school to teach those kids how to be good leaders. There's nothing worse than telling someone what you want and not teaching them how to do it. So leadership became a leadership school in the off season became a big thing for us. And, when we went to the state championship game a few years ago, it was because we had sold those kids on the idea that if they were the best leadership class in the history of the school, we would have the best season in the history of the school. And they believed us, and they did it, and it happened. But same trap that I fell into. I've repeated my same mistake again. This year we had a tremendous group of seniors. They were the reason we had the turnaround last year, and they were such good kids that I skipped leadership school, and then we got in situations this year where our leadership wasn't at the elite level that I wanted it to be. So the lesson for me is the lesson that I've learned in the past is you have to do it every year. You can't take a year off because you think you got great kids. If you're not teaching it and refreshing it and reminding, I think one of the big keys to any kind of leadership or any kind of just elite level performance is you got to constantly remind people what's important. And I fell into the same trap. I thought I had such a strong leadership group that I skipped leadership school, and it ended up, it was, I can't imagine how good those kids could have been if we would have done it the way we were supposed to do it. So I'm back in there in January. We do it once a month.
Okay.
We got around the other sports, so it's hard. You gotta figure it in between basketball and baseball and other sports. But we're coming in once a month, and we're training our guys how to be great leaders. And I think it's Urban Meyer says it's not a difference, it's the difference. So I had to learn the lesson again, but I'm not gonna mess it up again. We're all out. We're doubling down on leadership.
Okay. Now, for the coaches that are just getting into the leadership and the culture aspect, is there something that you've used that you just say, hey, this is the book to use? Or is it something that you've done trial and error and you just found ways to work?
I've developed most of our stuff myself, and kind of pragmatic on just, what do I want from a leader? And what is it? And this is a big one for us and what does a great leader look like? What do they look like? What kind of things does a great leader do? And then it's one of those things, I'll relate it to when you're coming into a rebuild situation. I always sit down with the seniors and I say, all right, what's it going to take for us to build a winner? And they'll start listing it. Oh, we got to practice better. We got to get in the weight room. We got to be better leaders. They'll list them, right? So it's not that you don't know what to do. It's that you're not doing it. So to me, it's always about, if we said, well, what does a great leader look like? What does he do? Well, he comes to practice early, and he helps the young kids, and he leads by example, and he says the right things at the right time. And he's coachable. He doesn't get his feelings hurt. He's coachable, and he tries hard, and he runs faster than everyone else. He's in the front of the line. It's so simple, what a leader looks like, what he does. A leader's in the front of the line. He's not in the back of the line, grab ass, and he's in the front of the line paying attention to what the coach says. So it's so simple to lay it out. They already know, they know in their mind what a great leader looks like. And then, we sell hard this idea of leaders have to help the young kids.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's easy. You pull your kids together tomorrow and say, when you were first starting out, did an older kid ever help you? And did it mean a lot to you? And every freaking, every hand in the room will raise, that they remember that one time when they were some little freshman that didn't know how to use right. A senior took a little bit of time and helped them, and they still remember that today. So it's such an easy sell. I can't believe I didn't do it last year, but I won't ever fall into it again. But most everything we've done has been we developed it, and it's just most of it is just a handout where here's 7 things we're going to talk about, and it's all just simple pragmatic stuff like that. That a leader takes teachable moments and teaches. If you got someone in the locker room saying or talking about something that they're not supposed to talk about, you step in and you say something. That's what leaders do. Leaders step in. If they're talking about going and getting drunk on Saturday, you say, hey man, we don't do that. And we dang sure don't do it during the season. That's what a leader does.
Yeah.
And we just go through those simple things, because it's about reminding us. And I tell this story. I don't know if this is left field or not, but I tell this story. When in Iraq, remember when the Army got in trouble about like brutalizing prisoners when they were in Iraq? Remember when that whole thing happened?
Yeah, Abu Dhabi or whatever.
Yeah. All right. So when that happened, that and we talk about it every year. When that happened, I knew immediately how that happened. It's because whoever was in charge of that prison every morning didn't pull his guys together and say, remember, we're the good guys. That's all it would have took. You just got to remind them, we're the good guys, and the good guys don't do the things that the guys were doing. That was not a breakdown in ethic. It was a breakdown in leadership. That our job is to remind our kids over and over that they are special and they are elite and they are a cut above and they got greatness in them. That's our job over and over and over in as many different ways as possible. We have to remind our kids, because all that's true. They do have greatness in them and they are elite, and they're the best of the best. If you were picking the best kids in the school, I bet most of your football guys would be in that group, because they're the best of the best.
I agree. And I think as coaches, I like your approach, because we try to get too complicated, have these different programs, and we want to make it seem, collegiate, because they have a lot of different programs, when you're just saying, hey, we just remind them of the same core values every single day over and over again, and we ingrain in them. And Coach Reagan, who's on, said, could not agree more. Our leaders are in the front of all the lawns, like you said, sitting in front of every classroom, volunteering first to do whatever needs to be done, lead by example, and the young kids will follow. Speed of
the leader determines the rate of the pack. That's when our kids hear over and over and over again. And it's so visual. If your leaders come out to practice on the hop, guess what everyone else does? They come out on the hop. The leader set the tone. And we talk a lot about, and this is like one full meeting, as we talk about the leaders changing the temperature. Leadership is not about having a great practice when everyone's having a great practice. Leadership is about, we're having a bad practice. Now, what are you going to do to change the temperature out there, to turn us in the right direction? And, it's easy whenever, as a player and as a coach, or some days we go out there and it just feels right. Everyone's hopping around, it feels right. And there's some days, usually in August, when you come out there and, man, it's 4,000 degrees and you're sore, and some people don't want to be there. Well, are our leaders going to drop to that level, or are they going to rise the level? Are they going to pick us up? Because that's what leaders do. And that's a lot of those leadership meetings is talking about that, is you got to change the temperature. That's what a leader is. He's a temperature changer.
Yep. And Coach Angelo says, Coach, your video on culture explaining the 4 cornerstones is great. I also like the book recommendations by you all. I just brought 2 more books. You Win in the Locker Room First and The Energy Bus. So what is your favorite book on leadership?
John Gordon stuff. Anything from John Gordon is awesome. Randy Jackson's book, Culture Defeats.
Yeah, I got it right here. Culture Defeats Strategy. And he
Yeah,
coming out with another one?
Yeah, he's about to come out with it in just a few days. But that one is a play-by-play. I mean, I stole a lot of how we do culture from him, and he got all his stuff from Brian Kane. So the resources I talk about are Brian Kane, Randy Jackson, and the Focus 3 guys, Tim Kite, and I can't remember his
I know who you're talking about.
both of them. They were the Urban Meyer guys. I think that Urban Meyer book is probably the best football book I've ever read. And that Randy Jackson book is just straightforward, down to earth. Here's how you do it. And we've set it up like that. You know, when we talk about building culture, the huge piece of that is core principles, which we got from Randy Jackson. The idea of core principles is from Randy Jackson, and tying your 5 core principles to a day of the week and then talking about them 365. That idea came from Randy Jackson and Brian Kane. And that's, ours are attitude, leadership, work ethic, toughness, and family. And we tie them Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And we talk about them over and over and over. And I send out, I think you probably see it on Twitter.
I do every single day.
The one
every single day.
I send out on Twitter is the same one I send out to my team on Remind and on our Facebook page. So that's the quote. We're gonna say that quote. We're going to explain what that quote means and how it applies to the core principle of the day. And then we finish with just this one statement. So Monday is attitude. So they would read the quote, they would explain the quote, and then they'd say, and this is the key word, they say, when I think about attitude, I think of, and they tell us. And it could be like one kid on a couple of weeks ago, it was Thursday toughness. And the first period kid, because now it's in the weight room because football season's over. First period kid talked about our quarterback. Our quarterback he was a tough SOB, and this kid talked about our quarterback. Second period kid, he talked about his mom. He had a single parent. He had a single mom raising him and his brother. She works 3 jobs, then comes home and cleans the house and cooks the food. And he said, to me, when I think about toughness, I think about her because I don't know how she does it. That's physical toughness to actually have the energy to do that.
Yeah.
And that's mental toughness to be able to do it day after day after day. And we always break down, toughness is physical, mental, emotional. But, could you come up with 2 better examples than that? One gave the starting quarterback and one gave his mom as examples of toughness. And then sometimes they'll just give their definition of toughness. Toughness to me means, and they'll tell you what it means. But the concept of, I'm going to go through it, then the assistant coaches are going to go through it, and then it goes to the players. And now it's the players standing up in front of the rest of the players and going through this stuff. And to me, that's culture, because culture is all about, bottom line, culture is about behavior. It's creating behaviors, and behaviors are going to create results. So the core principles that every single day over and over and over thing, that's how you just ingrain it into their DNA.
Go, where's my helmet, man? I want to go. I'm going to strap up and play for you right now. Let's do this.
We just had the state championship game yesterday, and East Surrey, the team that beat us, which was undefeated for 3 years straight, East Surrey beat them in the state championship game. And they threw it all over the place. I
was watching the cut-ups. All you North Carolina guys that were air raid were just retweeting. Like, he threw for what? That kid's going to North Carolina. He threw like 7 or 8 touchdowns.
Yeah, I'm buddies with the Tarboro coach. I was gonna tell him, don't worry, he's gonna do that to Clemson in a few years.
Yeah, he
is. That kid's a special kid, but it was just great to see a passing team go out there and perform at an elite level. But Tarboro is a big culture team, and they're big Focus 3. They go through Focus 3, and but they're a big. Not only do they have the talent, and it, to me, an elite coach is someone who Craddock could. He had who's the running back with the Rams. You know what I'm talking about?
Gurley?
Yeah, he had Gurley. Craddock had Gurley. That's how he won 3 state championships.
That'll do
He
it.
could have easily just rested on, hey, we're always going to have better players than everyone else, but he didn't. He went ahead and he dove in the culture, and he dove in. He does a great job in the weight room. He didn't just rely on always having better players. He went and did the other things that elite people do, and I always thought that's a great sign of someone who's pushing and growing and straining. Is they're not, it's great when you have them studs, but be more than just a talent. Yeah. And that's what he's done, even though it didn't work out for him yesterday.
Well, it's worked out for him plenty of times in the past, though. So.
Yeah.
All right, we've got some questions. DAngelo Ruffin, do you know?
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, he said that's your coach. That's his coach, and he was wondering where you're coaching at now.
DAngelo is in the chat.
Yes, he is watching. Go ahead, wave, tell him hello.
Hey, DAngelo was the greatest receiver in the history of North Carolina. He caught, I'm going to mess up the number. He would tell you. Ask him how many he caught. He set the record for most catches in a game and most catches in 2 games. And I'm at Tell him I'm at Hopton now. But he was a special kid. Went and played college ball. I mean, he was unreal, and was a state championship hurdle guy also. I mean, he was special.
Okay. And he can see, he's seeing it right now, man. He's probably 25. That's what he said.
Understand what he just said now. He caught
42.
Huh?
He's saying 25 and 42.
Yeah. Okay. So 25 in 1 game, and 42. Then 42 in 2 games, back-to-back games. He caught 42 passes in back-to-back games, 25 in 1 game. And I mean, he's a special kid.
All right. Well, he's in here watching you. Going back to the counter, some of the coaches are saying, okay, counter's your number 1. What's your number 2 run?
I think this year it was power, and only because we do, like a smash mouth set down on the goal line where we're running power, but we also run a power read out of the gun. So power ended up being our second biggest run. And I think talking about a way to protect counter, when you put the counter read in, not counter read, when you put power read in and with the counter, think about what you're doing to those defensive ends. Now they don't know where to sit or come up the field. You're getting them both ways. So power is actually one of the ways we protected the counter. But power read was a good play just because our quarterback, I mean, he was such a dominant runner also. So they were more worried about him than the tailback sometimes.
Okay. Well, Coach, I appreciate you coming on and talking ball.
Hey, brother, I appreciate you having me.
Need to get you on. I'm going to drop again. I will drop your YouTube and Twitter in the comments. Coaches, if you ask Coach anything on Twitter, is that the best way to get in touch with you? Social media, Twitter?
Comments on the YouTube page.
And on the YouTube, he loves the comments. I freaking watch. You're one of the few people that I have the bell notification. So I see your gorgeous face pop up when it says that you posted a new video.
Well, I have it on YouTube, man. So
Stop it, man. Stop it. I know you'll be talking in May at that the air raid clinic, right?
Right. I'm in January. We have Pinecrest puts on a great clinic, a free clinic. It's an FCA clinic. Let me see the exact date. I'm speaking at that one too. On culture. It is on January 25th at Pinecrest High School in North Carolina, and it's a big thing they put on every year. Chris Metzger down there and their staff do a great job. Just kind of a service for the high school coaches. They've been doing it for years, and they'll have 200 or 300 people there every year. So that, I'll be speaking at that one, but that's always a great clinic, and it's always free. They'll feed you pizza and donuts in the morning, and
nice.
So donuts in the morning, pizza for lunch. How about that? Have you been to that one?
I haven't.
Oh, you got to come on. It's a great clinic every year. Every year it's a great clinic.
Okay. Well, send me the details and I will tweet it out and get it some eyeballs.
Great.
All right.
Great.
And you already got some coaches in the right now saying they're fixing to go over to YouTube and subscribe to your channel, man.
Tell them I'm trying to beat George to 5,000. Help me.
There you go. There you go. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we go? Anything you want to plug, promote, anything?
Just the YouTube channel. And man, I appreciate you. You help a lot of people. I know you. I don't know why you started it, but I know I've stolen so many ideas from you over the years, and I still every time your video comes up, I'm the first one watching and learning. So I appreciate everything you do, helping.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it, man. That's nice. And really, I do it so I can talk to amazing people like you. As corny as that sounds, I love talking to coaches about ball, man.
Actually, I believe it because I can't remember who I was talking to, but I thought that was one of the benefits of doing the podcast and doing the YouTube videos is you get to talk to people and steal their best ideas. And so you're not only are you a handsome man, but you're smart.
Stop it. All right. Well, coaches that are watching, thank you so much for watching. It really means the world to both of us that you sat in on the conversation, and thank you for asking questions. Again, I'm going to drop his Twitter and his YouTube right there. And Coach, we're going to have to get you back on, man, and do a round 3.
I appreciate it, bro. I'd love to.
All right. And coaches, until next time, let's continue to master the spread, score points, and have fun.